Today's video is all about Kaito, the ultimate Web3 information platform. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into this project, looking into some of the fundamentals such as the team, the tokenomics, the utility, and the overall value proposition. Trying to figure out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins are looking for opportunity, and the question is Kaito an opportunity? Guys, today we're doing a deep dive. We're going to be taking a look into this project, obviously looking at all the little fundamentals that should be making us bullish, especially at the current moment, as the market is trying to find its bottom. We are speculating, we're looking for opportunities, and the retail market is currently sleeping. And the reality is when we should be awake, we are sleeping. And the question is, are we sleeping on Kaito? Right now, the guys, these projects are coming in hot. There's a lot of projects coming out right now that are looking to grab their portion of the market cap. And of course, we're speculating. We're thinking, can projects like Kaito actually attract their fair share of capital? Obviously, today we're going to be doing a deep dive. We're going to be taking a retail perspective. This is very, very important, because a retail perspective is what's going to really give us that sense of adoption, that sense of, volume. We need volume, we need participation, we need some action in this space. And the retail sentiment is one of which we could use to basically gauge that inflow. Now, ultimately, the retail perspective has to be taken, very, very seriously, because those are going to be the individuals that are going to end up giving this project the network effect that it needs. So let's make sure that the team has given all the clarity and all the information necessary to make the average retailer happy, and obviously interested, but more importantly, bullish. All right, guys, so let's use their website. We'll be using their main platform to navigate this project, obviously, their website. And then just don't forget, guys, I'm going to have the infographic and the overall roundup, a general, just a quick summary towards the end of the video. So feel free to check this timestamps below to just get there if you need to. But I'm going to get into a full-on amount of detail right now, just highlighting all the important stuff. The ultimate Web3 information platform. What does this mean? This basically starts to bring in this concept of data, okay, which is very important. We know that data is very, very, very valuable nowadays. It's one of the most valuable things, especially as we introduced one of the most data hungry players into the tech world, which is the AI. So I'm curious as to how exactly this plays into AI, how exactly the economy works as far as data and its collection of data, because this is obviously very important, obviously very necessary. The bigger question that comes to my mind, is it necessary for it to be Web3? This is important, guys, because as you guys know, I do a lot of deep dives. And when I do these deep dives, one of the big questions that I always put at the forefront is a token necessary? Is it necessary? Could it be that it would be fine for it to be just a regular Web 2 project or product and service and not need a token? Is this possible? Easily research and track any tickers, topics, narratives across thousands of premium Web3 sources, turning terabytes of unstructured information into actionable insights, basically synthesizing the information, empowering more informed decision making. Okay, so using data to actually make better decisions. Obviously, that's what we need to be doing, and it aggregates all the data across various pockets of the Web3 space per se, and then ultimately gives us that information in a nice type package. Quite interesting, no doubt. Powering 500 plus investments, marketing, and growth teams. Sure, okay, we got Axelar, DYDX, a few others here. Now, what does this exactly mean? I am not sure. It doesn't really give us much clarity. If you go on their socials, there's not much really discussing. You don't see Pantera Capital talking about Kaito. You don't see a lot of these talking about Kaito. Solana Foundation is not talking about Kaito, but they are talking about, Kaito is talking about these various identities. Now, it's very important to understand that these relationships could be very one-sided, and I'm not sure how these relationships actually play. I am very reluctant when I see logos like this, heavyweight logos, right, just plastered on the website, it really doesn't add any value to me unless it's clickable and I can actually read upon what exactly this is all about. There's nothing here, guys. We don't know any information about where this is, how these relationships are actually playing out. That kind of bothers me. Okay, so the communication here has to be improved with regards to how this happens, or what these companies are bringing to the table as a strategic marketing and so on. I have no idea if are these teams actually using Kaito. If that's the case, marketing growth teams, maybe they should say these are our customers instead, right? And make it valid instead of saying something like this that's very vague. So I'm not sure what that is. Communication is important here, guys, and language, choice of words is also very important. Product highlights, search portal, social signals. Okay, fine. We get a lot of little data that is as an example, and this is exactly what they said earlier on. It's going to provide insights, improve time to decisions, build conviction, and next gen AI capabilities. Let AI work for you. Now, as an individual that has used AI and has been in the back end of the AI tech scene for a while here now, I do realize that there's a lot of areas of improvement within AI. And now I'm curious as to which models they're actually employing. Is it their own model? Is it a model that already exists? Is there a centralized choke point based on this choice of model? Because a lot of the major models are not centralized. In fact, they require API, and they also require a fee to be used. Okay, so this is also very important because that's a choke point. That's not Web3, so we got to just throw that out there. Let's continue going down. Backed by premium investors at Dragonfly. Okay, so right away, this should tell you is that they got VCs up in here. We got Jane Street and a few others, Spartan and a few others, guys. These guys have raised capital for Kaito and basically allowed Kaito to have a bit of a runway to begin their adventure. Now you got to ask yourself, how and when and which way are they going to be rewarded for taking risks such early on? Believe me, these guys are going to find their way to make capital. And guess who's going to pay? That's who's going to make them their money, and it's the retail investor. The retail investor that gets in at the wrong time, at the wrong place, expecting these projects to continue pumping and so on and so forth. These guys are going to be your first competition. So just keep that in mind. Right now, I definitely am being very critical because when you see VCs, it's a positive thing in one way because you don't want to be a completely fair launch with no runway. But then again, you also have to understand that this is your competition as far as profit-taking opportunity. These guys will be looking for exit liquidity first and foremost, okay? These are important concepts that you need to understand. So, although this is good to have people backing, you just understand that they are going to be looking for your capital very soon, if not already. We'll take a look at the chart at the end of the video for sure. As seen on, okay, these are also great publications, good way of letting the message out. But I'm going to just let you know these outlets usually and most often are paid for, which means that anybody could go and create a as seen on post on these platforms. So are they organic? Are they natural? I would say, maybe, maybe not. And if we open this in a new tab, Yahoo Finance could be a really, really good source to get the word out there. And then you got CoinDesk Startup, they raised actually a lot of money for their size. And this is not just it, a total of about 11 million in between both funding series. So we'll talk about that in a second for sure. And this right here is just a post that was posted by an individual. Let's see who that was. This dude right here, a 2-minute read in June from 2023. So not only is outdated, but you can see that if this individual has an incentive to post something like this, it's not an organic post in that case. This person could have been paid to create this post. So we have to understand that some of these social outlets are not very organic whatsoever. However, they're a good way for marketing to speak about their projects, and the fact that they were able to raise capital is a good sign from from an early investor perspective. So this is great to see, but we have to always take these from a grain of salt. What do they really represent? Good communication, maybe. Good marketing efforts, yes, for sure. Good reach and the ability to, gain attention from a lot of individuals that are within the finance space, but more importantly in the crypto space. Yes, really good stuff. Okay, so good there. Get started today. Sign up and contact sales. Okay, so really based on the website, based on the landing page, we're not getting too much information, but we are getting enough to get an idea. It is a platform that is going to allow people to collect information. Now, where does it get this information? And ultimately, is it going to become an economy of which individuals will be paying for this information? So let's quickly go through this. We got Kaito Pro, which is their main project or product that they got here. It's the ultimate AI-powered Web3 information platform you need to turn terabytes of unstructured information into actionable insights. So as you can see, we got lots of different, value points to talk about, sentiment tracking, meta search, and so on and so forth. Go check it out. Obviously, guys, do your own little research there. I'm not going to spend too much time reading from a website, but search insights and all this is all definitely there for individuals to use. Readily available at their fingertips for people to use to make informed decisions. Again, track narrative rotations. This is an interesting one. Monitor benchmark projects and mindshare. That's also an interesting one, and many more. Okay, different dashboards and widgets and watch lists and things that you could use again to make data at your fingertips. That's what Kaito Pro is. Now, there's going to be APIs. So Kaito APIs enables you to systematically access their proprietary in-house data sets, helping you to make more informed decisions. Web3. So what really here is, if you're a developer and you want to create an application and you want to use their API, use their data, and to get their information, you can contact your sales team, because then you would have to pay for access to that API. That's usually how it is. You get the license and then you can use it. Okay, so go check that out, obviously, because that also has to do with their capability of earning, right? So their ability to earn. Now, empower your strategy with Web3 insights. You can see the enterprise single seat is $833 a month, and this is USD. Guys, that's a thick price tag, right? This is not for an average individual, right? So getting started, contact sales. I'm sure you can wiggle them down to a better price. I'm sure you can. And then again, another point of interest where they can make some money is the API, as I mentioned. But then again, the enterprise multi-seat, which basically allows multiple users and so on. And this is where you can get a comprehensive solution that meets all your enterprise needs. You contact them and you negotiate a different, a fee of some sort, that fits a budget. Guys, the thing is that they have a product and they realize that their most valuable product is information. And they are ready to monetize on this information. It's somewhere in the documentation. I feel like I'm going to be able to pick it out again, but somewhere in the documentation, I did read that they were profitable and they are profitable. The question is how do we know that? I would like to know for fact that they are profitable. A statement is not enough, right? Unfortunately, like, it's very hard for us to prove that they are profitable, because profitability means quite a bit in my book. Now, is it going to be a sustainable, profitable scenario where there is enough customers yielding a net positive inflow of capital, or is it just, break even, or is it just the first surge of interest that is causing them to be profitable, or is it, people that got locked in on an annually basis that basically are keeping it profitable? I would like to see more of a sustainable thing, but so far at least they have a product. According to them, they are profitable, and their product seems very interesting because ultimately we know how valuable data is. Now, there's this ecosystem, and to be honest, can be very confusing. And again, it's all about communications and marketing. I think the marketing team needs to revisit. I think they need to really contemplate on how they're going to clarify some of this. The flow of which the value proposition is presented makes things very, very unclear, which is not good. It could be a language barrier. I am not sure what it could be, but the fact is, it's very hard to understand what things are. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see no snapshots, none of that. Okay, so this is their Yaps. Okay, their Yaps platform. Note that, and nowhere on this website. Let me just go back real quick. This is their main landing page, and I'm just going to open up these Yaps on a different page so that we can make it very clear. Nowhere so far on this main landing page did we see anything to do with Yaps, okay, which is important because it's a big part of their flywheel, okay? And they also have frequently asked questions, which is always welcomed on any website, right? Where do I find a user guide? What payment methods? You can also play in crypto depending on, the package. What plans do you offer? These are very common things, but really, there's nothing that really gives you the information about what Yaps are. And when you click the Yaps page or the tab, you get into this, which still doesn't tell you much. This is how you actually use Yaps or get involved in the Yaps, right? This is their pre-TGE Yaps page, let's say. And as you go here, you can see you can get some information, right? Lit right now is getting a bit of action. We got a base, on a downtrend, and so on and so forth. Some information, flips getting a bit of volume, and so on and so forth. Poly markets, doing its thing, down about 14.8%. But Lit right now is getting the majority of mind share, as you can see. Okay, so what we have to understand is right now we got Mindshare Arena, and it is the top gainers, the top losers, and lots of different things happening here. Now, this data is collected in a very interesting way. And you can see the creator leaderboard, which is down here. This is a leaderboard of where you see all the creators. By the way, I am part of a creator now here. I just signed up for the deep dive so I can actually see exactly what it is. And you can see that there's some creators that are doing a great job yapping, right? And for the most part, when you're talking about being an influencer, they're professional yappers. So in this case, they're going to be rewarded based on their yapping ability, their yapping quality, and so on and so forth. And obviously, is it hardcore or are they a casual yapper? Are they a curator or a shit poster? Are they a copy pasta or are they creative? And they get ranked based on these qualities, and ultimately mindshare and smart followers and so on, they get ranked based on these qualities. And what's important about this is that the information that they provide is directly correlated to these qualities. So if they're hardcore and they're a curator and they're creative and they're accurate and then this and then that and they're high quality yappers, the system is going to use their information to inform their database of information as high quality. And for that matter, you as a user of, again, back to this, their user of their Kaito Pro will be getting that information based on the yapping that is caused or created by these yappers right here, including myself. So you get what I mean? So it's almost like a snowball effect, which is not clean and clear on their documentation. It's not clear on their website. It's not clear anywhere exactly how this works. And I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks, especially when you're trying to market yourself to, the retail investor. If you want them to be a token holder, you got to make this very clear. But if you want them to be a user of Kaito Pro, I understand that that wouldn't be your main target market. So for that matter, it's not important to you. But guess what? Then you're a Web 2 product. And this is where I start to really think about, is a token necessary here? What is the token used for? Well, the token can be used for rewards, for governance, and for various things. And in this case, there's a concept of governance. Okay, so these yappers get credits called yaps in this case, right? Depending on their values and who actually votes on their value. People like you and I can come in here and, like a governance page would, we would have control over the high quality or the qualities of these yappers, the ratings of these yappers. And depending on their rating, how well they rate, right? It will give them rewards. Now, these rewards are very interesting as well because it is also considered like a launch pad, guys. This is where things get confusing. This is where, a properly written white paper for the retail investor will go a long way. And given that they have some good backing and I'm surprised that they didn't have somebody to say, hey, or somebody with experience here to say, hey, you really need to repackage yourself, because the truth is that your product might be ready for market, but your communication is not, and which makes it very difficult to sell, right? So in info markets arena, so let's see here, you got info markets like different poly markets, and this is where you can get information regarding that, different things. Fine project leaderboards, different leaderboards on different projects, the L1s, the L2s, the AI projects. Of course, Kaito is going to be right at the top. That's kind of interesting to me. And ZK roll-ups and different things, right? Different rankings and so on. But the yaps, we can see that there are some people that are getting a lot of yapping happening, a lot of ranking and so on, and in different emerging Chinese, Korean, and this tells me that the fact that they have these two languages, that Kaito is primarily an Asian platform. Okay, so that tells me that it's very likely that the team is Asian. And for that matter, they are targeting mostly, in my opinion, right now, maybe for the Asian community. It is what it is based on what I see right here. If not, they would have English and many others, or no languages at all, for that matter. Okay, because this tells me that there's a gear towards language and regions of the world where these individuals live. Right. So this is clear information, right, for me. So you can see the Yaps leaderboard, who's winning the Yappers, and then the feeds, the different feeds based on the Yappers, right? Look, these guys are going to have great Yaps, and you're going to be able to get quality information here. But this is where things get interesting and it get more confusing, because what does this actually mean? Well, this means that the Capital Launchpad, essentially, depending on how well of a Yapper you are and how well you rank, you're going to be able to attract airdrops, right? And for, that's probably the best word that I can come up with. You're going to be able to attract capital from airdrops that are basically being launched here. So it gives the opportunity for projects to launch their tokens in a very rewarding way to people that are going to yap positively or effectively. And in that case, it should translate in some great communication from these yappers about these projects. I understand the flywheel. I understand the validity. I understand the quality, high quality communicators, high quality projects get listed, and then all of a sudden they get airdrop to these high quality communicators. These communicators make good yaps and they go on socials on X, and you have to connect your X accounts. By the way, I might have missed that. You got to connect your X account so that it can track you and do all it's got to do in order to, consider you a high quality yapper. And in that case, you get rewarded for being that yapper by getting these tokens, and you can see committed and this and that. Guys, even still, even after reading their white papers and going through this website multiple times, I still feel like there's something missing. And it's because it was never clearly defined. And even through the white papers, they try, but it's not clearly defined exactly how this works in a very succinct retail way. Okay, so it's very important. Kaito earn, again, your ability to earn here, explore, check, and claim rewards. So you can do certain tasks to get a bit of rewards here based on these bounties, let's call them. Trading rewards, again, more rewards here, depending on build your portfolio by earning while you trade. Okay, so you can trade and earn some rewards. You see Bluefin, Apex Protocol. So there's a few promotions here that they're going to capitalize on it. And then the airdrops, there's nothing here, obviously, because I just signed up. Stake, you can stake your Kaito tokens to earn passively and get some rewards here. APR is 7.75%. And then your swapping capabilities right here. Easily swap assets and stablecoins in seconds. And now we're getting into swapping. It's a little bit of everything, a little bit everywhere here, guys. So we're having some swapping happening with the I feel like there's maybe a disconnect. Why is swapping really necessary? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if maybe for convenience purposes. Sure, you got Chainlink, Aave, all the EVM, the major projects, base projects, all kinds of different projects that you can swap, and you can connect your accounts, various accounts, obviously, and have different safety features for your socials and so on, because that's obviously something that needs to be protected. But this is it. This is basically what it is. This concept, this concept of this flywheel, essentially is driven by Kaito. So what we have to do is, quickly understand what Kaito is. I'm going to try my best here, again, with the information that is provided. So the Kaito token ties everything together by incentivizing contributions from people, like regular individuals that are on socials that are yapping. staking on data and unlocking access to various tools and that you could use to make insightful decisions. That's what the Kaito token is. And then you have this process which is called Kaito Connect. These are the it's the automation behind the reward structure. So the more yapping, the higher quality you are of a yapper, you get incentives, and this flow and assigned value that is attributed to the participation via yappers is governed by or is controlled by the Kaito Connect process. Very important, right? These are things that we got to kind of like understand. Yaps captured real time user engagement. So the yaps consider them real time actual user engagement that is collected and used to almost like verify the quality of your yap, social insights, and community driven validation. So you're basically getting to this quote unquote type of democratic process to validate someone's authority via, again, voting. And this is where they get into this type of governance model. Guys, typically this is not governance. So the fact that they're talking using the terms governance is deceiving, in itself. It is not a governance token. Okay, so in this case, what you're doing, it's like it is governance in one way, but you're not governing Kaito per se, and there's no DAO. So we got to be clear about that. And if there was, they did a very, very poor attempt to communicate that. From my understanding, again, from reading and understanding trying to make sense of this, is their governance model that they're proposing here is dependent on the fact that an individual could participate in voting on the authority of a communicator, let's put it that way, a yapper, and the more yaps they get, and the better they are, the more yaps they get, and from that fact you are basically governing how many tokens they get in reward, right, on those airdrops. Guys, it is governance, but not governance for Kaito. It's governance for who gets what in as far as airdrops. So it's a bit deceiving here. Communication is so important. So important because without proper clarity, you start to lose trust very, very quickly. And that's a bit of an issue. Then you have the Kaito Pro. Again, back to that Kaito Pro because that's where the real money's at, in my opinion. It serves as the primary interface for data consumption and intelligence extraction. So this is a whole flywheel that you got here. You got people that are yapping, that are feeding this platform, this Kato Pro, and Kato Pro repackages all the yapping and repackages it in a very tight way, assuming all that yapping is of high quality. And this is how they incentivize high quality through those airdrops and that governance model. And then ultimately, we have a platform called Kato Pro that's supposed to be giving us great information. Now, it makes a lot of sense. But again, I still get back to why do we need yaps? Why do we need Kato token? Okay, yaps are a little bit more clear. But then now I'm starting to think, then why don't we just have a YAP token and be done with it? Why do we need Katos? Okay, so let's continue. Let's see if we can actually answer this question as we keep on going. So the attention economy, this is what they're trying to say, is that if they could literally attract value out of the attention that exists on socials, they will be able to monetize it. The currency of life isn't money, okay? It's not even time. I disagree with that. It's attention, right? Because without time, you're not going to be able to give anything attention, right? So time is the ultimate currency of life, okay? So that is that's something that needs to be revisited. I don't care who that is, Naval. I don't know who that is, but you got to revisit life, okay? Life is all about time. After that, if you have time, you can give things attention. So in this case, am I going to be giving things attention and expecting reward? This is where it boils down to. The era of Gen AI has drastically reduced the marginal cost of producing information. So we're talking about the quality versus quantity, right? Because in my opinion, AI has yet to produce the high quality information. I don't know about you guys, but when you get into AI, it is very good in a layman's way. But when you start to get into, precision or detail, I have to second guess everything AI does. I don't know about you guys. I use AI quite a bit to synthesize various portions of data that I need for my daily life and for business and trading and so on. And a lot of the times I got to second guess and say, "Are you sure?" and double check. And a lot of the times, guys, more often than I'm happy to see, is it's wrong. Okay, it is wrong. So the attention economy is one thing, but synthesizing this attention into something that is valuable and relying on Gen AI technology completely and paying for it, in my opinion, it is still up in the air for first mover advantage. Right, we're scratching the surface in AI. AI is not complete. It's not in its maturity phase like some people think. This is at its infancy, in my opinion. In this new economy, scarce, valuable attention. Okay, that's true. Attention has been more scarce. The problem is that a lot of attention has been spoofed by AI in itself. So there's that issue with AI actually taking over at the attention economy. Because if you go on any platform, including X, the exact platform that Kaito uses to gauge yaps, the fact is that a lot of it is driven by AI. And this is and if this is the biggest issue that a person like me that is on socials frequently is currently dealing with, and according to all my inner circle and all the community, this is the biggest complaint. So my actual question is, how does Cato actually ensure that those posts are actually high quality, meaning organic, not necessarily AI driven? Okay, this is real talk here, guys. So I feel like there's a bit of disconnect here. And don't forget that the X API is also a dependency, which we'll talk about in a second also. So the attention economy today is broken. Creators produce content, users contribute personal data, brands, okay, so on and so forth. Yes, vast majority of the value flows to platforms. Okay, so what they're trying to do is extract value from the direct attention of people instead of the platforms being able to track that value. That's totally fine, assuming that again this economy that it hasn't been spoofed by AI in itself, and this is a big issue, guys. It's not just what I'm talking about. It's a big issue. Info finance. Okay, why info fi? So what they're basically trying to say is the monetization of information and be able to create that economy based on information. And name dropping Vitalik Buterin is obviously something that's going to sound great, no doubt. But at the end of the day, it's almost like self-explanatory. We know that information is valuable. Can we financially make an economy around it so that we can all benefit and so on? So there's inefficiencies, unfairness, and they're trying to identify the issues so that how Cato can actually find a solution to that problem. So you can see number one, disorganized information, AI powered distribution, where we are today, and stage threes, which I'm assuming where they want to go, AI powered info, market driven distribution, where we are headed. Okay, so again, it is what it is. I think that this is a great idea. I just feel like there's a little bit more information that's necessary. Democratizing participation, empowering everyone, creators and users alike, to participate and capture their fair share of value in the inclusive economy. So again, allowing people to monetize or get rewarded off their engagement. It sounds good on paper. It sounds great. What is Cato? Again, today Cato is a distribution center for crypto where information, attention, and capture moves seamlessly, powered by AI. This powered by AI still needs a lot of information. Number one, when I think about AI, number one, which model are they using? Number two, who is in full ownership of the back end infrastructure of this AI? This is important, right? Because if I'm going to be providing information to this AI model, ultimately, is that data belong to me, or are they taking full ownership of my information? And that's a problem because that's intellectual property at the end of the day, and they could use it the way they want to. And this is why I'm very hard on AI, because the guardrails for AI and people are not there. Okay, and you can tell that even this thing was written with the way AI with these slashes right here. Like you get what I mean, guys? Like we don't even know nowadays if we're speaking to AI or not. It's so difficult. So we need to make sure that as people, we actually put the guardrails in ourselves. Within crypto, we have developed two products. We talked about them, the Kato Connect and the Kato Pro. We talked about both, okay, in enough detail that I'm sure you already understand what it is. So let's move on. Enabling A-powered market intelligence. We talked about this, and we talked about some of these. So today, Kato Pro stands by leading market intelligence platform widely used by majority of crypto teams, researchers, and investors. again, guys, I'll take it for face value. It is what it is. There's a lot of heavyweight names right here. I really, I'm on the fence about this concept. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That's all I gotta say. There's a lot there, and without much evidence, it's hard, right? So, Kato Yaps tokenizing attention. So again, tokenizing the attention via Yaps. Now, is Yap a token? Kato Yaps leveraging advanced AI algorithm to extract. This is looks like it wants to be a dual token system at any day now, right? And this is a thing, right? So what is actually, again, what is Kato tokens? What are they for? I still don't understand why do I need to hold Kato tokens? Redefining attention and capital flows. Again, a lot more data. Guys, I'm gonna have to, skim through quicker because there's nothing here. Cato Pro AI platform, the problem, the solution, which we already went through. Core features, purpose-built indexing, real-time intelligence, comprehensive, okay. Smart alerts and dashboards, arriving mindshare, catalyst calendars, audio libraries. Okay, why Cato Pro matters. Okay, we talked about this. All the data. Okay, we get it. Yaps, tokenized attention. So again, since the birth of the digital economy, people have been eager to measure attention. Okay. Now, our attention, remember, takes time. So the fact that they didn't really put time as the unit of measurement of life is problematic to me already. Because ultimately, if you want my attention, you have to understand that I'm sacrificing time. And if I'm putting time out there, I need to be rewarded for giving up that time. Creators want to prove their influence. Okay, users want to contextualize popularity and follow emerging trends. That's a very, very important thing. Obviously, however, attention has historically been incredibly difficult to quantify, especially lately, guys. Right? Attention can be spoofed. We know that. So this is the problem: is that we're trying. AI is bringing solutions, but also bringing in a problem. And I feel like there's another issue here because there's a a circle that's happening here. You bring in the problem and then you also find the solution. That's a bit of an issue. Surface level metrics such as likes and impressions are incredibly botted and fail to capture real impact 100%. And now qualitative metrics and other subjective lack of. So I think what's really happening here, they're relying on these yaps and this governance model that is driven by participation of the of people to actually put in some valuable, let's call them, likes and engagement, and really say, yes, this is valid information, this is high quality information. So I understand that, and that's where we want to see that transition back to the people rather than these random bots that are going in on socials and giving likes and retweets and all this kind of stuff, and really spoofing all the engagement that really is not there. Yaps as proof of attention. Again, this is what it is. This is the consensus mechanism that they have going on. They want their yaps to be the actual judge of whether the data or the yap is of high quality through proof of attention, AI powered tokenized attention. So they got proof of work, volume, subject, relative content. So how much volume of the content you produce, proof of exchange, real reputable reputation, weight, engagement. Again, how are they going to make sure this is valid? Proof of insight, insightful, original, and focused discussion. These are all great. These are great proofs that we would say that they would justify, obtaining a lot of yaps. Let's put it that way. What yaps unlock? Creators, users, and brands, different things. Again, read this proof of influence and so on. Okay, so we're trying to get a better picture here, slow and steady. Yaps open protocol, getting started with their API. We mentioned this API. You can get access to their their tech stack and such to use their data and their information, what they got going on there. Inflow, Kato Connect, this is the participants. So Kato Connect is exactly that layer where it basically uses those yaps, where it processes the inputs and automates the incentive flows and assigns value to participation. So it's the brains behind the yaps, let's put it that way. So participants, network participants, creators, users, and brands, network programs. These are all different network participants, and they're well defined here, which is good. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. So far, I only see X at the current moment. So let's see what they do here. But you know what this means to me? That means problems. Unfortunately, it is what it is. This means problems. I've been in this space long enough to know that when I see these logos or these names, it tells me not only that it is an issue as far as the fact that there's a dependency, but there's also a choke point, a major choke point, because you're relying on the X API, the YouTube API, the Instagram API, the TikTok API. All of these are in full control of their own networks, and the fact is that you are dependent on their network. This project right now is currently fully dependent on their ability to extract data from these platforms. If at any moment that switch is turned off, you lose that capability, and Kaito loses part of its core competency. This is the problem. That one of the biggest issues. And nevertheless, their AI models, which so far has not been discussed. Okay, so we're trying to get to that. The Yapper leaderboard, again, a little bit of reputation, and then the launch pad. What is it? The market-driven approach ensures the value flows to brands based on their market consensus. So the better they yap, the better the launching happens, and the more tokens they are able to get. So I guess creators vote on the brands that deserve the most attention and become an instrumental market force within the attention distribution network. Thoughts on rebalancing of power, so getting those creators back into control, and then users vote for the brands that deserve the most attention and become an instrumental market force again, and so on and so forth. So this is their governance, quote unquote governance, that they're speaking about. That is not in a very traditional way of governance whatsoever. Okay, so it's important to understand it's a voting process, but you're not governing. It's not governance on Kaito. Now, where things get a little bit interesting. Okay, this is where now, as a deep dive, as a crypto deep dive, this is where we need to kind of like hang back a little bit. Okay, just note that we have to be very critical here, because remember, from the moment of this deep dive, I started to say, it's very important that we distinguish whether Kaito needs a token or not. And at this current moment, we see Kaito, the information token. Kaito is the native token and the fundamental building block of the AI-powered info network. It plays several key roles. Okay, driving market forces. What does that even mean? So holders actively participate in shaping the network by influencing the distribution and attention within the AI-powered information ecosystem. Tells you nothing. Again, that tells me nothing. What does Kaito actually do? What do I need Kaito for? Network currency. Maybe we get something here. Functions as a primary medium of exchange. Now we're talking within the Kaito ecosystem, facilitating seamless transactions and interactions. Like which? Okay, this is important. So am I buying yaps? Am I using this to get yap tokens or yap points or yap? I don't know. Like even what yaps are not very clear. Like, is this something that I buy? Do I buy yaps so that I can go and use these yaps to vote, or am I voting with Kaito? Again, there's nothing really clear about what it is. Okay, it's a primary unit an exchange. Now, I think that if you're trying to get in to buy the Kaito Pro, maybe it is the case that you're going to have to pay with Kaitos. Okay, so maybe we can even go look at that. If we go back to the main website and we go to Kaito Pro and we go, where is it? Pricing. Is it in Kaitos? Most likely not. Dollars. You can do Kaitos right here. Monthly bill, monthly Kaitos right here. Okay, so that's one level of utility. Being able to use it to purchase the Kaito Pro. Okay, that's good. So an economy of sorts, an internal economy. These are important things, right? And then community governance. Okay, this is where again this governance concept keeps on coming back. Kaito enables decentralized decision making, allowing token holders to propose, vote on, and implement key protocol algorithmic changes. Guys, there's nothing of sorts at the current moment. I couldn't find anything of where this happens. So right now, as of now, that statement is not valid. I don't know where that would happen. And I went on their Discord to ask questions, and it just so happens that I got a response almost 24 hours later. And, it is an issue, and really, there's nothing there. I skimmed and scraped and combed through it. And where I'm curious as to where this governance happens. The governance mechanism ensures that the network evolves in alignment with the community's interest. How? Fostering and transparent efficiency, AI powered info. How? I just don't know where and how this works. Maybe it's in the future, and if that's the case, this shouldn't be here. In fact, it should be into a roadmap. And I'm telling you, Cato doesn't even have a roadmap. That's another big issue, especially with young projects with small market caps. Guys, when you're coming in with a small market cap, let's talk about this market cap here for a second. $130 million market cap. It's a baby cap. Okay, and we know that its dilution is not even there. By the way, it is a base project, which is nice to know because base as an ecosystem is currently, in my opinion, either super undervalued or is just waiting for its launch of the base token of base coin that will bring their whole ecosystem to fruition in a stronger way. And Kaito will definitely benefit from that. But ultimately, at the current moment, we're talking about a baby cap that is waiting for a bunch of tokens to still be issued to the market. That is problematic without a roadmap, without clarity, without governance, without nothing. I don't know where this. So right now, token utility, I don't really know what it is for, other than buying the Kato Pro, right? And that's about it. If you look at tokenomics, tokenomics are also very interesting because, as usual, when you're talking about a new project, okay, we're talking about projects that usually have poor tokenomics, and we're going to have to deal as it is. They quickly summarize to say that 56.67 of the Kato tokens are devoted to community and ecosystem. Okay, of that, 19.5 will go towards initial and long-term community airdrops and incentives. I just want to quickly scroll down so we can put this in the view. As you can see that we have a nice wheel here, pie chart, whatever you want to call it, that's showing us the distribution. I just want to make it clear that the foundation right now, there's no governance, right? No DAO. Early backers, there's no DAO. These guys are on their own. But essentially, these early backers want to get paid. Liquidity incentives. What does that even mean? People that provide liquidity to the market is going to get a bit of reward. Okay, so that's 5%. That can go kind of along to community. Long-term creator incentives. That's a little bit of community, sure. Initial community ecosystem claims, sure. More community from the initial community. So these are early stakeholders. Okay, this is important because it's not just the word community that you should be focusing on. It's the word initial. When does initial mean? TGE? At what price did they get in? What price did they get airdropped? At what price did they get incentives to go and create shill videos and shill information? This is important. This is a new project. We got to be honest. Binance hodler. So this is important as well because a lot of people, when they see this, they say, okay, Binance is involved. And so it looks like they are some way. They're listed on Binance. That's great. To list such a small project and such let's put it this way, a project that is missing so much with regards to communication and marketing, it tells me that there's something happening there. Okay, whether they're part of a launch pad or there's some sort of connection. Guys, these guys are listed on a lot of exchanges, which tells me that there's something boiling up in the background. Okay, so that could be a positive thing. So not all, I'm trying to keep it very, very neutral, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Ecosystem and network growth, who controls that? That's a big portion of the capital, 32.2%. Who controls that? If there's no DAO or no governance model at the current moment, who is in full control on distributing these tokens when it's time to distribute them? Where did they get spent? Did they just get placed in a wallet? And then as they get placed into the wallet, they build up, and then as they build up, where do they get spent? Who decides? This is the problem. When there's no governance or DAO, and there's no roadmap to tell you that yes, we're going to be getting these tokens on a X amount basis, and we're going to be distributing them into this place. At least there's accountability as to where these tokens are going. Not that they're just being emitted. Yes, maybe multi-sig, maybe this, maybe that, but who cares? Ultimately, I want a vision. I don't see a vision here because there's too many tokens being placed into zones of this distribution that are not in control of the people, the token holders. And if they are controlled by, let's say, a foundation that is self-appointed, at least make that clear so we can look into the team, and at least we can say, you know what, we believe in the team. And then make it that is. As of now, that's the only thing you can do. Core contributors, 25%, guys. So between core contributors and then 32% that is part of this ecosystem network growth, I would assume that the core contributors are directly in control of that wallet, right? That's what I have to assume, unless again their governance model is clearly defined, which it's absolutely not at this current moment. So this is where I'm at right now. I clearly distinguish the early stakeholders from the community, and then I start to say, okay, but where are these community tokens held and who's in control of them? Unfortunately, the tokenomics are rough, very rough. Okay, and then you have the initial community and ecosystem claims, right? These are all TGE pressures that you're going to get from new projects because early investors got in at very cheap prices that are eventually going to take profit, and that's the reality. That's what happens. Okay, so we have to understand that. This is what I really wanted to focus on. Binance Hodler allocated to strengthen strategic partnerships between the Binance and Kaito communities. What does this mean? I'm curious because I've never seen this. I've done 130 deep dives and I have never seen this Binance hodler. Does this mean that the team decided to give someone from Binance or some sort of wallet 2% of the allocation as good faith and then being able to put them here on the white paper that they have a Binance connection? I don't know because there's not enough information and that one sentence is not enough. And it's vague and it's open to interpretation. Bothers me, guys. There's lots of things that bother me right here. And then the token schedule. Nice clarity as far as the graphic goes, but exactly the rate of emissions should be defined, very clearly in writing, not just picture form. So right now you can see over time, in February, we're going to ramp up distribution like crazy, guys. Be very careful. People are preparing for some major unlocks right here. Look at the ramp up. We're right into the new year, 2026, January, right into here, February. By next month, we're going to ramp up distribution. We're going to see dilution like no other, right? Again, guys, these are things that we need to, and they strategically did not put the detail that is required so that we can interpret this better. And the image does a good job in itself anyway. But imagine a bit of numbers. That would be really, really helpful, right? Like actually spell it out. And this was updated 10 months ago. This is lifetimes. Lifetimes. This is old. It needs to be updated. We need to get up to date here because 10-month old in this current scenario where we're ready to either break to the upside and get an amazing, let's call it a super cycle, or we're ready to come down to the depth of the abyss. Guys, regardless, now's the time to update your communications, right? So I still walk away with a bit of uncertainty about what yaps are as far as a token. Are they purchased with the Kaito tokens? Are they blockchain tokens? Um, how does the AI model work, and is it decentralized? Who owns the data once they collect all the data from my pages, my X accounts, and my socials? Like, there's a lot of information here that I'm missing as far as its backend, and that again bothers me, right? So let's keep on moving on. Let's do our best to try to make sense of all of this. Then we have the Kato Connects, a little bit of that if you want to know more about how this works and their staking metrics. Again, your ability to stake and earn. We already mentioned that 7%, so on and so forth. There is a cooldown period of 7 days. Make sure you read the fine print before you stake anything. Just keep in mind you're staking on a base liquidity pool, which is generally supposed to be good. You can see the voting mechanics are here, mathematically telling you exactly how the voting happens. The YAP referred to yappers. Remember, voting is conducted on the YAPS platform where users revert to yappers cast their votes to help projects launch their yapper leaderboard. Guys, this whole thing is just not clear. I don't even know. And now after reading this, I still don't even know what yappers really are to their core, because these yappers ultimately are individuals that are on socials and they're yapping, no doubt, but they get to vote on the different projects, and based on their votes, whether they get airdrops. And then isn't that a conflict of interest? I really, honestly, it's a communications issue, and I read this up and down, right? So, Yapper votes. What are Yapper votes? Yapper votes make up 25% of the total voting power on the Yapper launchpad. Those votes represent voting power. So what's the rest of them? The 75% then. So the votes represent the voter power, Yaps, tokenized attention, and so on and so forth. Okay. You can choose. So this is so complicated. They're making it very complicated, and their communication is really bad. Holder votes makes up to 75%. So the holders actually make up to 75%. This is it. This is how it goes. So you get more of an incentive to hold, right? And they have more power on the launchpad, which comes from on-chain representations in the Kato ecosystem. Wow, it's just a lot. And then you get NFTs. You get a bunch of NFTs that you can use to actually gain more governance. And then NFTs right now a bit frowned upon, right? Do I deserve my X account when I vote with Kato or Genesis? Like you can vote with Katos, which are Katos that you're going to be staked with, and you're going to, and which they didn't mention, right? They don't really mention what SK. This and this is a separate This is a different documentation. This is a different white paper, a different Git book. It's just too much everywhere, guys. It's just too much everywhere. So what I'm going to do is say this: I would understand if you don't get it, because right now they didn't do a good job communicating, and then that's the bottom line for me. So I would have to say and keep it as it is. There's a way for you to vote. There's a way for people to yap and get and have incentives using this voting structure, this governance structure, and be rewarded via tokens distribution on this launchpad business that they got going on, guys. Whoa, so much going on. Okay, let's just try to make more sense of this. Tokenomics, guys, go check out here. We got a crypto rank giving us a little bit of information. You can see right here in February, we start to see the core contributors getting unlocks. Okay, so we're talking about a ramp up on unlocking, and early backers, they're right now licking their chops, ready to get paid. Okay, guys, so be very careful here. In about a month, we're going to start to see a lot of tokens getting unlocked here. Guys, it is what it is. I have to be honest there. So that's something that I want you to see. Their X account, 431K followers. That's pretty decent. They got a link tree. Go check them out. Follow them. Try to make sense of what they got going on here. Let me just make this a bit bigger so we can see it a bit better. There we go. Get rid of the sides as best as we can. Let's see. Available to anyone in crypto Twitter with 50 smart followers. Thank you so much. Okay. So this is it. They got a lot happening here, but you'll notice that even their posts are all just repetition of different people that are yappers and so on. Tell me what you're working. What are you cooking? Like I want to know what the team is cooking. I just don't want reposts of stuff. You know what I mean? This is not enough for me. And the engagement is there, no doubt. But now that I know what business they're in, which is in the business of engagement and AI, I start to question, like, how valid is all this engagement. They're getting 1,000 likes on this post right here, 1,000. Okay, and I've seen other projects, big L1s with millions of followers, that barely get a few hundred. So either we're going to take that as super bullish, or we can say that this engagement is basically cultivated based on their actual core competency, which is AI engagement. Guys, it is what it is. What can I say? Look at this, 1.4K followers. That's a lot. Kudos. Amazing. If this is organic, amazing stuff. Like this is probably the best X account that I've seen so far in months, given the amount of engagement ratio versus the amount of followers they have. Crazy. And then they got here coming soon. I don't know when. Reach coming soon. Okay. And that's about it, guys. As you can scroll through, there's a lot of just reposting and reposting. Maybe some here. The ZK Pass claim, their public sale is not live. This is the launchpad concept where you're going to get, this ZK Pass rewards. You can claim your rewards depending on the yaps and all this kind of stuff. This is what they call the launchpad concept, right? And again, the governance concept is highly intertwined into there. So it is what it is. That's their socials. Some good stuff coming up here. This is supposed to be very bullish. The Cambridge Blockchain Society. The research partner for Cambridge Blockchain Society. That's great. This collaboration will. We are committed to pushing the boundaries of blockchain technology. Very interesting. That's a really bullish, relationship. I'm curious to see how it, plays out in the future. Let's see more about that. And let's just continue back to communication. Okay, so I just want to make it clear, and maybe I should have done this a little bit earlier, and I apologize for the brightness. Let me just make this dark. There we go. A little easier on the eyes here. As you can see, I just really want to look at the holders. Okay, and again, if they were transparent and open about everything, this would be a lot easier. But I have to just call it out as it is. Look at your top four wallets. Okay, you got one with 30%, one with 25%, one with almost 11%, and then one with almost, okay, let's say 8%. A total of a lot of percentages. Okay, we're talking about crazy percentage here. So now this could be the team. This could be the foundation or the community rewards and this and this and that. At the end of the day, I don't know. And then again, is it behind a multi-sig? I don't know. Is this behind who's actually in control of these tokens? I don't know. And there's so much unknown as to what these are all about. This looks like a contract wallet, so that's fine. It's a little bit explainable, a little bit easier to digest. And so is this one. This is the S token, which is the stake tokens, the liquid tokens that you get when you stake, but it only represents 3%, as you can see. And then as we keep on going down, finally we see Binance 73 and I don't know, some others, Coinbase, all the way down here. So I'm assuming that these are project wallets, but clarity, guys. Why not put these token wallets on their white paper, on their Git book, with clarity as to what these wallets are all about, who's behind them, who's in control of them, and so on and so forth. But of course not, and that bothers me because again, I shouldn't have to go and DM the founder and all of this to actually gain clarity here. This is gatekeeping information is not healthy. You got to make it clear, and if you can do this for this Kaito contract, why not do it for this one? Why not do it for all of them so that you can see provide that clarity? It is what it is, guys. And if you look at it from a chart perspective, let's see if this loads quick enough because sometimes it takes its time. This may take a few seconds or hours. I don't know. But if you look at the actual chart, in fact, as a pie chart, it doesn't look good whatsoever, guys. It doesn't look good. So I'm gonna move on from there because this thing is just loading forever. Um, this is their overview, guys. We'll talk about the chart in a second. This is their team. We'll talk about the team. Okay, the team, in fact, is quite interesting. Okay, so the team, in fact, is quite interesting. Let's jump right into that. Maybe what we should do is while we're here, look at their fundraising for a second. So they did raise quite a bit. Okay, just want to make that out, put that out there. They're undisclosed. I would say TGE prior. Basically figuring out how they're going to build some runway here. We have almost $5.3 million raised, okay, in February 2023. And then another Series A in 2023, just a few months later, you can see another 5.5 million raised by other VCs, different groups, different people that want to get paid. Eventually, that's their total value. They raised almost $11 million on a $87 million evaluation. Now, if you look at their current market cap, guys, and the current price and the way they've been behaving, the price has been behaving, it looks pretty bad. I'll be honest; it doesn't look really good whatsoever. So we'll just put that on the sidelines for a second here. And then let's take a look at. We talked about their vesting just a little bit, but their team. Remember their vesting? We talked about that. Let's take a look at their team, see what they got going on. And obviously, I'm going to get into their LinkedIn so we can get to know them a little bit better. But they have a small team. It's not a big team. Okay, so let me just show you. They have about 32 members. A typical L1 is at one end of the spectrum. It has about 200 to 300 members. Right around that zone. And right here, we're looking at a project, a small project, 32 associate members. It is a project that is built on base, so it's not an L1 per se, but it is a small team. Okay, so and it looks like they're coming out of Asia. A lot of them, Singapore, Indonesia, Nigeria. We have a couple, so all over the world, where they study: New York, Cambridge, Hong Kong. So a little bit of everywhere, which is pretty cool to see a group of people come together and pump out some good tech. As we can see, we got the founder, co-founder, we got blockchain, social lead, business development, and so on. So let's see what we got here. We have this dude right here, you, founder CEO of Kaito. They're hiring if you're looking for a job, by the way. As you can see, he's been here full time at Kaito for about 3 years and 10 months, which is nice. And international equities, Citadel, which is big. Investment banking analyst, in Germany. It looks like in London area, okay, in the UK. Babel Education, co-founder. That's pretty big. That's pretty good. Co-founder Babel during the first year of university. That's healthy. That's really nice. And Mackenzie and Company internship, very nice. University of Cambridge, BA honors and economics. So this individual is not necessarily an individual that is tech related per se, but he is definitely business and economics related, which makes a lot of sense here, especially with the fact that the project is trying to economize or create their own economy via attention, and time. Let's be real about that. Okay, so that's pretty good. Pretty big heavyweight. on the economy business side of things. And then you have this dude right here, co-founder Yun. I'm not gonna butcher your name, but I want to go by Yun. Yun is definitely talented. Well, let's go see what he's got. Co-founder, head of AI. Okay, so he's been here for almost 3 years, right? Which is kind of weird. Why is the other dude longer than this dude? But whatever. So no big deal. The he's basically 6 years and made Meta engineering manager, software engineer, machine learning, senior software engineer, machine learning. Guys, there's okay. Based on this, there's no one better. Like this is it. You're talking about top top, talent from this aspect. Okay, it is what it is. This is a bullish thing to see someone coming in from this amount of time and this type of experience. UCLA research assistant, teaching assistant, software engineer, intern at EA Electronic Arts. This is a video games, EA Sports, things like that. Software development engineer, intern at Amazon Web Service. This is good. Obviously, another. These are all big, by the way. These are all top tier software companies. Okay, top tier. He's worked at the best of the best. Let's be real. It is what it is, guys. You got to call a spade a spade. So these are some of the best software companies in the world that he's worked at, which is great. So if we stick with those two, and of course the team being small, and there's some other talent there. I apologize for not putting you on the spot here, but it is what it is. The team is solid from that perspective. Now, ultimately there are things that bother me, and I feel like it's mostly they need a bit of a marketing communications person to really make package up what they got going on here a little bit better. The website is clean and clear, but their vocabulary and the way they explain their flywheel is totally lost in translation. And that bothers me because you're going to lose a lot of the retail investor. As usual, guys, I do release an infographic, so this is it. This is it right here. I'm going to be posting this all over the socials, on all the platforms, and of course, the full deep dive is going to be posted on the socials. So make sure you go check that one out. And this, as a review, is just going to give you a quick update as to exactly what we talked about through the whole deep dive. So let's just kind of zoom in here. Let's talk about their ecosystem. From their ecosystem, they got internal ecosystem because their external ecosystem doesn't really exist. There is no such thing at the current moment. And it is not a negative thing. It just doesn't apply. It's not like it's an L1 where they have all kinds of different projects being built on it, but they have projects or concepts being built within that basically make up their tech stack. Their Kaito Pro, data consumption and intelligence extraction. That's their main platform where they repackage and redeliver the information collected in their internal economy, which is driven by the yaps. Okay, and yaps captures real-time user engagement and social signals. These yaps are basically data feeds from people, yappers like me, right? We yap all day long, and they collect information, and then from there, the Kaito Connect automates and incentivizes and assigns value to these yaps, and they get redistributed via that Kaito Pro, where people pay to get access to that data that the yappers provide, and then that's how you make that internal economy regarding the flywheel. Very interesting. The only problem that I got here is, why do we need Kaitos? I still don't see it. Now, and again, it's not my fault. It's the fault that the communication wasn't clear. Why do I need Kaitos? At what point do I need to introduce Kaitos into the stream of things? Let's talk about its utility. Yappers are launchpad voting off chain. So yappers are basically they vote on, they use the tokens basically to vote and basically gain access to yaps. And this is where, again, that disconnect, and you can tell in my voice that it's not even very clear. To the point, I just need to add this, is that their whole voting process is not governed by a blockchain. It is off chain at this current moment. So to make matters a bit worse, you think that it's a decentralized economy as far as the yappers go. It makes it sound like it because it's a democratic process, but that democratic process is not on the blockchain. So we're relying on a faith-based system that is off-chain to make sure that the utility of the yaps actually come to fruition. Guys, I don't know. There's a lot of work to be done from that front. Okay, so there's a lot of negativity here because of that. Like if you want to, you want people to engage in an economy here in Web3, you got to make sure that everything that can be decentralized and put on the blockchain, that it should be. And in this case, it's not. According to the documentation, it is off chain at the current moment. Okay, so it is what it is. Payments across Kaito products. So you're going to use Kaito to make payments across different products. We talked about the Kaito Pro and any other future endeavors. Apparently, are going to be you're going to use Kaito tokens to make those payments. Okay, and then unlocking various tools and enterprise data APIs and such. That's where you're going to be using the Kaito token. So its utility is limited to basically a currency at this current moment. That's how I look at it. And obviously a bit of a voting, not I don't want I'm very reluctant to use the word governance because it's not necessarily governance the way we use it traditionally in this space, but it is in a way allowing a person to get into a democratic process to voting on yappers and such. Okay, on different products and different things. The roadmap, there is no roadmap, no official communication right there regarding where they're going in the future. They had an old one that was lingering around, and nothing updated so far to give us a bit of assurance of where we're going. Where's Cato going in the next little while? Where are they putting their capital? Where's the team putting their efforts? Nobody knows, and unfortunately that brings a little bit of uncertainty there. The team, it's a small team. It's only 32 members, okay? They have lots of experience, economic banking sector experience, which is good, and economics and all of that. And then the computer science engineering, fully stacked engineer. We saw who he was. Lots of talent there in AI and across all kinds of machine learning, AWS, EA Sports, and Meta, and more and more. The thing is that the team is small, and I feel they need someone to handle their overall marketing communications and a little bit more streamlined. This is where again I did a lot of deep dives over the last few years, and when I see these trends, I know exactly where the flaws are coming in. It's all about communications. Socials, 3 out of 10. Again, the reason why is because they got lots of followers with moderate engagement on some of them, and then some of them with crazy amount of engagement. So what I worry about is the disparity. Why such a disparity between some getting thousands of likes, 800 to 1,000 likes, when I'm seeing other projects, especially now in this current condition, not getting many, and all of a sudden them being part of an engagement project using AI, I start to question whether these followers or this engagement is being spoofed. I really do. Now, I'm not trying to be critical. I'm trying to be honest. Is it possible? And if it is, and if they're trying to play the X algorithm, all the power to them. It is what it is. But are they completely organic? This is the question. That is the issue. Or is it just like a literally an internal ecosystem governed by the actual project itself that is inducing engagement on these posts? I don't know, but it is what it is, guys. Discord is not attended to. Unfortunately, there's scammers happening there. I went on there to ask questions, and I just got a response like 24 hours later, and it's just like there's not much happening there. I feel like based on their location, they don't have a moderator or somebody there that's part of the team that's taking shifts 24 hours. Given that their Telegram is announcement only and there's nothing happening, they have a bot there hanging around just spitting out information. For me, that's not enough. Where's the community engagement? They need to have someone there 24 hours a day, communicating, talking about things that are happening. And this is where it needs to be done. It needs to be done now. Why? Because this is where it's the most important. The market right now is on a downturn, and people are very unhappy. Emotionally, right now, the market is not very healthy. So this is where you need to be facing your community, especially if the price has been falling, which again we'll talk about in a second. So communications and documentation clarity needs improvement, guys. It is like out of all the projects that I've done in the last couple of years, I'm able to really pinpoint some of the issues, and this is all about communications and documentation marketing. Guys, it's very difficult to really understand what's going on here. And they try to be creative. Kudos to them with the yappers and all of this, the yaps and this and that. But to define it properly needs a little bit better. He needs to do a better job. Tokenomics raising 11 million in funding earlier on in 2023. Okay, with 3 years ago, unlocks ramp up in February 2026. Guys, check out that distribution. Be ready because tokens are going to be unlocked very soon. And 56% allocated to community, but no governance. So what does that even mean? Like if so many tokens are allocated to a community, how do these tokens actually get put into play? Who decides who gets the check? This is the problem. Who decides who gets the tokens? Is there one individual? Is there a foundation? Are they self-appointed, or are they appointed through governance, which there is none, and there's no DAO. A DAO would be amazing to put all this capital behind the DAO. That's not established. So I don't their tokenomics are pretty bad because not only are they new, but they are not really considering the risk of centralized allocation of capital. Even if you write the word community, it's not decentralized. It's very centralized, right? So it is what it is. Relationships. They have a relationship with Binance, but I'm not really clear as to how that works because even them, the way they put it out there is not very clear. So what we really have to do is be a bit critical here because they hold a bit of tokens, but at the same time, are they part of an affiliation of some sort? Again, not much clarity there. And then Transact, onboarding infrastructure, fiat and on ramps. So very, very honestly, I think I was a little bit generous here with this 4 out of 10 with the relationships, but it is what it is. Okay. And exchanges, they're listed everywhere: Binance, Mexi, KuCoin, Coinbase, Blowfin, Ascendex, Bitnex. Guys, if you want to know more about these two exchanges right here, they're newer exchanges, but they're offering great bonuses if you're looking for free capital to trade with. Okay, go check them out. Links are in the description. Other than that, guys, they're listed everywhere, which is interesting as well. Somebody's seen something of value here. Now, is it an opportunity to see future speculation? The team, what is it? I just see that there's a little bit of work that still needs to be done. Okay, so just to remember, the tokenomics are right here. They did fluctuate based on the timing of the recording of this video. And this market has been a little bit volatile, but not so much. Now let's talk about my overall verdict. Okay, so it is an AI type of launchpad InfoFi type of scenario. Okay, where they're trying to basically commoditize or put information within an economy, right? Where people that provide high quality information are going to get incentives, get reward for that high quality, which is great. No DAO or governance established in its traditional form. They say that there's governance, but their governance is not governance that we are used to, you know, talking about. It's not like you're going to have control over what Kaito does or any decisions or any proposals per se or anything like that. Their governance is allotted to their distribution of those tokens, the launchpad model. Okay. Top 4 wallets hold 75% of the tokens. Take that in. Now, I could be overreacting here, but because they don't provide clarity, I have no choice but to present the information like this. It's not my fault. It is what it is. If you go on their blockchain explorer, right, you go on the chain explorer, you can actually see in their contracts, in their lists, in their distribution, that top 4 wallets hold 75%, and there's no clarity as to who are the people behind those wallets. And unfortunately, there's not enough clarity to say that there is a decentralization of that capital, even if they are in a centralized wallet, right? Are they behind the DAO or anything like that? Guys, you got to hear me out. There's various ways of decentralizing a project. And as of now, they don't really demonstrate too much, right? So again, governance is one, decentralizing the organization. Claims to be profitable with no proof. Unfortunately, that's another thing. They claim to be profitable with no proof. I would like to know if that's actually a valid case. The Launchpad model, users earn access to tokens as rewards for knowledge, participation, and engagement. Launch mechanism aligned with the InfoFi economy. So this is what I'm trying to say. Rewards are issued based on this Launchpad model. Core value proposition is dependent on the tech stack of other Web 2 social media software solutions. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit more. We decentralized the organization. That didn't really happen, or it's not happening. We decentralized the tech stack. We have two concepts here. You're relying on Web 2 software, social media platforms. For example, X, YouTube, so on, so forth. You are relying on the fact that they're going to still allow access to their API so you can keep track of the engagement that happens on these social media platforms. As soon as they increase the cost of access to the API, what is going to happen to Kaito? Are they going to quickly pivot and say, yeah, no problem, we'll continue paying? Or are they going to say, you know what, it's too expensive, it doesn't fit our business model anymore, so we're going to drop them? Or what if they change the permissions in such a way that maybe some data is not going to be provided? Or maybe they change the permissions in such a way that they get banned for whatever reasons, or whatever the case may be. When you're reliant on a third party, on separate identity to give you information that is going to drive your actual business and make it profitable based on that dependency, you don't achieve centralization that way. In fact, it's a centralized choke point in a very Web 2 way. Problematic. And then we talk about the decentralization of the tech stack itself on their own internal tech stack. So we have the dependency on their, their ability to run their business as far as what their value proposition is, and then their tech stack itself. Now, how are they running these AI models? Who are these AI models? Where do they belong to? Are they their own? Are they custom? Are they using the APIs of other AI models? Are they paying monthly for these AI models? I don't know much about them. Where does all the data get stored? How are these AI models? Are they run on a centralized server, or are they run on AWS? Is the data being collected on a DeepIn infrastructure, or is it being collected on AWS or cloud-based services, Google Cloud and Azure? Like, where is it all going? Where is the back-end decentralization of their infrastructure? Remember, decentralization exists in many ways. And so far, none of what has been, presented to me shows me Web3. It doesn't. I've seen projects like this that been issued in the past, that may not have, sophisticated AI, right? But they're Web2 projects, and nothing is going to be holding back those Web2 projects from introducing AI. Nothing. So it's easy to achieve. I am still waiting on, the light bulb moment, the moment of where, I think that Kato's really achieving something that, will change the world, right? That's what I'm really looking forward to. Now, it could be like, okay, maybe they are replicating some Web 2 services, but it's in a very Web 3 way. That is interesting. That is fine. That is something that would be ideal. However, at the current moment, guys, things are a little bit rough here because we're dependent on a lot of Web 2 infrastructure to make Kaito succeed. So Kaito with the market cap of OP, optimism. Why do I say optimism? Because of its market cap. I think because of its market cap, it's an ideal place. And again, it's not part of the same narrative. It's not part of the same thing, concept. It is a layer 2 on Ethereum. And Kaito being an EVM compatible base chain within, its market cap, I think that to see it go to about 4.3x and keep up with a project of OP size, right? Just about size. I'm just referring to its market cap, right? It could do about a 4x and reach about $2, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Again, when we reach your forex stages in this market, stages of which prices fly, we can go much higher. But the way the packaging is right now, and though it is, for me, it's a very risky scenario, especially within the narrative. We're talking about social media narratives. I've seen many social media platforms coming out that relied on dependencies, API dependencies, and that flopped because of that. Even Web2 projects, guys. I've been using one for years, and they just came out recently and don't support X anymore because of the changes that Elon did. And that's, again, that could happen here. And that's a bit of an issue. I don't want to have to deal with that issue. So, guys, it is what it is. Kaito is an interesting project, but it's going to have its challenges. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts. So let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with the Kaito chart. At the end of the Kaito has been on a downtrend. It's not looking very nice whatsoever. As you can see, it's making lower lows and lower highs consistently. And as I was coming out with the deep dive yesterday or the day before, as you can see, we got a bit of a pump, but don't get fooled, because if the market in general is not getting a pump, don't expect any small projects, any micro caps, baby caps, or any such to continue pumping and changing this direction of the trend. Guys, let's take a look at this in a bit of detail. As you can see, all we have right now is range. And if we kind of just highlight the range just real quick and just focus on where the majority of the volume is, I'm not going to be accurate here because we can take this all the way up here, fine. And we can also say there's the thickness of the volume comes right into here, right into here. That's the thickness of the volume. And then we get the other thick part of the volume right into here. And then the entire range is right into here. Okay. And even still, the entire range, I wouldn't even include this in the range because it kind of did break range. And it's not, and in fact, this didn't even really break too much range, but it is what it is. We'll kind of just leave that there for a sec, okay? For the lack of a better placement, let's put it that way. Now, if we kind of like make this bigger just to highlight, you can see that it's in a very tight range. We can also put in a trend line just to give us a visual reference point. Again, guys, I don't trade trend lines because they're very amateur and it's not very a sustainable way of trading long term. But I would say this, based on what we have right here, it is very clear that Kaito is in a downtrend. And people that got in and drank the Kool-Aid right around this level are currently paying the price. Because not only would they have round tripped, but it's likely they would have gotten to crazy positions upon these levels and started buying and buying and buying, defending their positions and getting trapped and getting trapped and getting trapped as they defend their lows. And it is what it is. As you can see, guys, on a downtrend, you got to let it play out. It basically bought into the October at the 1010 wick and actually fell below. And it's not exclusive to Kaito, guys, where a lot of projects are doing a very similar thing, doing this, coming down below its 1010 wick. Good volume in the last little pump, but so did here, and look what happened. So did here, and look what happened. And so did here, and look what happened. It all resulted into lower lows and lower highs. Unfortunate, but true. So we got to fast forward. We got to go now and start looking at what we're dealing with. The reality is the chart is still oversold. We haven't really gotten out of oversold conditions. We do have some good signs of class C. Not really. Not much divergence. A little bit of divergence here, which would show us, which would be more clear on the 4-hour. There's a bit of divergence on the trend oscillator. Very nice actual multiple drives of class A bullish divergence. At this point, we were getting a bit of class C bullish divergence right here on the trend oscillator, but the expansions, the volatility, everything tells me that it's not over yet, that we need to get a little bit more data to suggest a reversal. Remember, momentum, trend oscillators, any oscillators, they're great. They give you an edge. They give you a bit of clarity. Guys, if you want to know more about this one, links are in the description. It is called Synergy Signal. However, guys, without market structure getting follow through, you can't do anything about it. You got to just wait and to see. We need at least one higher high or a higher low on the higher time frames. And the biggest clue of a potential reversal is getting back above this yellow line, back above 68 cents, ideally back testing, consolidating, and accepting this level as support once again, and considering this an opportunity for a continuation to the upside, simultaneously breaking trend lines, which I don't want to really consider too much, but making a confirmation, a low, a higher low, making a higher high above this level, and filling up or flying through this imbalance that, kind of closes up right around $1. In that case, we can start visiting the 200 daily EMA, which is the orange line, very confluent level, and that would begin a potential reversal, right? That would be the beginning, because you're looking at big picture. We still have work to do, no doubt. After hitting this level, we hit the wall of here, the point of control, the big nodes of volume. We can get rejected and come down for another higher low, bigger higher low, and eventually this becomes a reversal where we start to break above bigger structures, bigger levels, and that's where things start to look great, right? That's where, as you can see, my artwork, on a bigger picture, it starts to make sense, right? This is the level. We need to break above here. And anything that happens right into here is in preparation for the breakout. Excuse the time, guys. Don't worry about time because I'm just being artistic here. I'm just trying to make sure that you understand that we can get market structure shifts here, but the bigger change of character in the market structure that can happen on bigger time frames is the one that we really need to start to see this price revisit its previous highs, which is at about $2.50. It's got a lot of work to do here, guys. And the sentiment based on current price is not very good either. Okay, so we got to be very clear and understanding on that. Now, ultimately, what I worry about really is the lower time frames also, because if we do get rejected here, okay, and we come up, back test, and reject right off of that line, guys, lower lows and lower highs it is, guys. The trend is your friend. You dodge the bullet, and we break structure. Make sure you got those stop losses in if you're getting into longs. And if you start looking at the 4-hour, you'll know exactly why I'm saying this, is because really, we really didn't do anything. If you compare it to previous moves of the past with volume, okay, this one was a little bit more, but nonetheless, because of its small market cap, it's easy to achieve, right? Any market maker can induce the market for a reversal. I remember yesterday, as I was doing the deep dive, or was it the day before, someone on the Discord was saying, oh, just before the deep dive, Kato's pumping. It always happens. Well, guys, it's not the deep dive. It's the reality is that when you hit a horizontal level like this, it's a perfect place to manipulate, right? What is that? What is this equivalent to? If you guys are following your market structures and have been doing your homework, you'll realize that this is completely an AMD, right? It's a level of which we get into an accumulation, manipulation, which is a good trading, take your profit, and now if we get back into this range, distribution, and we continue coming down. Guys, it happens over and over and over. Accumulation, manipulation, distribution, over and over. And if you find those, guys, just be prepared. If we get back into this range, again, dropping below around 51 cents, expect this thing to sell off and make a lower low. This was a trap to trap individuals thinking that the bottom is in and that we're going to start flying once again. And market makers are the ones that create all this. You know, influential individuals, large bag holders, market makers that are there to cause a bit of pain. It is what it is, guys. All right, guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive, massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip. Thank you.